Ladies, we're ready.
Good morning.
Congratulations, when are you due? Good day. Well, hello, my name is Daniel Bennett. Welcome to another episode of Good Day. And today we're going to be talking about the importance of discerning moments. I'll explain what I mean by that here in a little bit. First, though, I'd like to encourage you to go to gooddayGTN.com and check out how to become a water walker. This is a free booklet you can get, either digital or physical. There's a coupon code that you can get to get this for free. You can also always go to our website or call 719-635-1111, if I get that right. And last episode, I accidentally said my own phone number. We fixed it, so don't go back and try and find it. But anyway, I encourage you to check that out. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I encourage you to leave comments and questions. I might even answer some of the questions from those comments in a future episode. So first, though, I want to talk about work. So I'm going to do this quick little topical look. And so the topic is work. This time I'll do 3 quotes and then 3 scriptures on work. And then 3 movie recommendations. No, I was kidding. Maybe in the future. So the first one is by Tim Notke. He says, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So that's a good one. I mean, honestly, you hear a lot of people who are like the top of their fields. It really is when there's a combination of talent and hard work, right? Like the Michael Jordans of the world, people who are just like in the extreme high level, because you can get a certain level with just talent and you can get a certain level with just hard work. But when there's talent and hard work, it really is something impressive. And that's why it's so good to kind of discover areas where you might be talented or have a passion to become talented. But it's got to be married with hard work. This next one is by Theodore Roosevelt. Turns out I like a lot of quotes by Theodore Roosevelt. I wonder if he just maybe he had really good speech writers and he just took the credit. I don't know. He says, far and away the best prize that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing. So I do like that. I wouldn't say that's I think it's tied for first. I don't think it's the only best prize that life has to offer, but absolutely. I mean, we're created in God's image. Purpose is part of our identity. It's part of our calling. And having work that you enjoy doing, that's rewarding and fulfilling, and you really care about it, whatever type of work that is, right? Raising your family, taking care of your home, providing for your family, creating things, right? In ministry or business, doing things for your community, whatever it is. If you truly believe that it's good work, it's very rewarding, very fulfilling. That's part of our identity. Work wasn't part of the fall. It's not part of the curse, and it's not part of a fallen world. God created work before sin entered the world. So there's a good godly version of work that's tied to our nature. It's actually a very good thing. It's a prize. I mean, I like that he calls it a prize, not just a necessary evil. Sin is what's corrupted it. So it's not always perfect, but we can have the good version. So this next one is by George Sand. He says, work is not man's punishment. It is his reward and his strength and his pleasure. Again, so I wonder if he was the boss. Just kidding. No, but again, depending on your mindset and depending on what you dedicate yourself to, it really is true. Like I was just saying, it's a reward. It's very satisfying. Some people have this mindset that it's like, my goal for work is to try to get to where I never have to work again. And I get it if you're talking about just working for money, is that you'd like to just be able to do other things you care about. But I don't think we're designed to just do nothing. I think that no matter what, we're designed to have a purpose, to do things that we care about, to create value for other people. I think that's a key part of who we are. I don't think we can have deep satisfaction in life if we aren't doing something valuable for other people, because I think that's just our nature. God's generous. He's a giver. We're made in his image. It's just if we aren't able to bless others, we're incomplete in our experience. And it can be in any way. It's kind of like the boy with the fish and the loaves, where he didn't have much, but he gave what he could. So even somebody who's like, I can't work in that way, there's still things we can do to bless other people. So there's 3 scriptures on work. First one is Colossians 3, verse 23. It says, whatever you do it heartily as unto the Lord and not to men. And that's one of the ways to find fulfillment in work, is realizing I'm doing this for God because God called me to do this, because the resources I get from this allow me to do other things that God's called me to do, right? Even if you don't like your job or you don't believe in the mission or the vision of the company you work for. It can still be satisfying if it's like, well, I'm doing this because God called me to, so I can be a light to these people, or so that these finances allow me to bless my family, or other things. And so working hard as unto the Lord, not saying I'm not working hard because, the person you're working for deserves it. I believe we should always work beyond what people deserve because it's a reflection of who we are. I think that's a spirit of excellence, is going above and beyond the bare minimum. But I'm doing this for God. I have a spirit of excellence because of God, not because I feel like I owe it to somebody. It's like, no, I want to go above and beyond because it's a gift to God, in my heart at least. The next one is Proverbs 14, verse 23. It says, in all labor there is profit, but idle chatter leads only to poverty. All right, so in all labor there is profit. So in all types of work. So I like that. I'll go a little quicker here. 2 Thessalonians 3, verse 10 says, for even when we were with you, we commanded you this, if anyone will not work, neither shall he eat. We shouldn't just leech off of other people. Now, there is a place for mercy where some people may not be in a place where they can actually do productive work that leads to income or resources. It's not like if somebody's ill and they're stuck in bed all day, it's not like, well, you don't get to eat because you haven't worked, or children, right? I mean, it's not like put your 3-year-old to hard work because otherwise they don't get to eat. So it's not talking about that. It's talking about people who opt out of work just to be lazy and to mooch off of other people. So so we're going to move on. Like I said, our topic today is about the importance of discerning moments. I love discernment, and there's many different types of discernment. So we'll get to that in just a minute, but first we have a quick little promo, and we'll see you right after that.
Life comes with all kinds of storms. But when your boat is sinking, you might want to step out and learn how to be a water walker. Log on to GoodDayGTN.com to get your free copy today.
All right, welcome back. Like I said, we're going to be talking about the importance of discerning moments. And so, like I said, discernment is a much bigger topic, but this is one type of discernment, is kind of reading the moment. What's going on in this situation? Discernment, it's kind of weird. I used to think that it was, it's in the list in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, when it talks about the gifts of the Spirit. It talks about, workings of miracles, healings, prophecy, discerning of spirits, other kinds of tongues, interpretation of tongues. And whenever I'd read that list, I'd be like, oh man, I really hope I don't get a lame one like discerning of spirits. I hope I get one of the cool, gifts. And I used to, that's the first time I really thought about it, was in a negative sense of like, I hope I don't get that because I want something that's really cool. But I actually become very passionate about discernment, and I see a lot of value in it. I'll probably talk about it more in the future also. But I used to think it was like the most boring gift. Like, yeah, who cares if you can discern things? I mean, here it's talking about discerning of spirits, which still can kind of mean different things. But who cares about that when there's, other really, really exciting things on the side? So what I found, I started valuing it more in my own life, but when I really started valuing discernment, when I started noticing people who didn't have any. And I noticed like people were making messes in their lives by having zero discernment. And it kind of shocked me, and I realized, maybe this is more important than I realized. So discernment is incredibly valuable, right? A basic definition of discernment is the ability to distinguish or judge something, right? It's kind of like if you can discern, is this salty or sweet, right? Is this person arrogant or humble? Can you make a judgment on what's going on? Another part of the definition, you can perceive the truth about something, and you can see subtle differences and nuances. And so discernment's very, very valuable when we realize, okay, don't just look at what it is, but imagine not having that. Imagine that you can't judge things. You judge things incorrectly, right? Someone's really, really happy and you think they're really, really angry. You're going to make a mess in your life, right? You imagine not being able to see. You can't perceive what's happening. You can't perceive people's emotions. You can't perceive a situation, things like that, right? Imagine not being able to notice subtle differences where, again, it's kind of like if you eat food and you don't have taste buds and you're like, it's all just food. It's like you aren't getting to enjoy it as much as possible. If you have no discernment, you're going to miss out on life if you don't see any nuances in different types of situations. So again, if you don't have it, it makes a mess. If you do have it, not only do you avoid a lot of messes, but you also discover opportunities that other people don't have. And so usually when I think about discernment, I think of it in terms of people. And that's a different topic. I won't get into that, but it's incredibly valuable and important to be able to discern things about people. Should I trust this person? Should I not trust this person? Is this person ready for this? Are they not ready for that? What's this person going through? How can I help them? Things like that. It's incredibly important and crucial with people and relationships. But like I said, I want to talk today about discerning moments. And so one of the phrases that you may have heard are when someone says, read the room, right? It's kind of, if somebody walks into a room and they don't notice that everybody in there is sad, and they walk in and they start joking around, and it's like, hey, read the room. This isn't the right time for that. It's actually watching some little YouTube clip, and a nurse, they were posting like embarrassing things that happened. And one person said, once I walked into a hospital room and there's a huge group of people in there, and I said, hey, what's the party? And it turned out it was the family saying their final goodbyes to someone who was about to pass. And they're like, oh no, right? And so that was an accident. But it's funny, a lot of nurses actually said, like, I've had that happen to me too. And all these people started sharing these little horror stories that they had of just like, I just put my foot in my mouth and I did not realize. It's kind of like the joke in the intro video of this, right? Where I say like, hey, when's your baby due? Right? I don't know if you've ever done that. Like, hey, when's your baby due? I'm not pregnant. Oh, great. And so there's many times people, if you misjudge the moment, you will make a mess. So again, reading the room, reading a moment. Imagine that you think someone needs to be cheered up, so you poke fun at them, not realizing that they really didn't need that right then. They're like, that's not the kind of cheering up I need right now. What I need is sincerity. I need encouragement. Or imagine someone has a really big accomplishment and it's a big deal, and you don't realize this is really important to them, and so you just make fun of them or mock them or something like that, and you're like, that's just not the right moment, right? Sometimes you see things like somebody is at their birthday and it's really special, and then somebody smashes their face into the cake, and some people love that, and some people you can tell they're like, that's not what they wanted. They wanted to enjoy the party, enjoy the cake. You just especially like if a woman spent like 2 hours on her makeup and you smash her face in a cake, that's not going to bless her probably. I haven't learned that one the hard way, but vicariously I've learned from other people's mistakes. Noticing when somebody's bored, right? If you're telling someone a story and you just go on and on and on, and you don't notice that they're really trying to leave, they're going to avoid you from now on. I remember one time I was hanging out with somebody, and this was actually doing missions. I was in another country, and this guy, I was trying to write something, and a guy sat down next to me, and he talked to me for 4 hours without me saying anything. And he talked to me about how he used to be a radio DJ. He's like, in radio DJs, it's like when you're on the radio, they train you to never let there be silence. And he proved to me how good he was by talking nonstop. He's like, if you can't even have 2 seconds of silence, you have to just talk nonstop. And he just demonstrated right there for like 4 hours. And I was like, and it's your body language. You're like, you're trying to show them that you're trying to walk away. And so if you can't pick up on that, people are going to start avoiding you. Or if you're teaching something, and if you can't pick up when you notice, like, is someone's face confused? Are they following you? Do they understand what you're saying, right? You'll be a very ineffective teacher if you never notice, like, do you understand what I'm saying, or do I need to explain this some more? So again, it's very important in a wide variety of settings, right? What if somebody's discouraged and you think they need tough love, but actually they just needed silence, right? What if somebody's grieving and you're like, you shouldn't be grieving. Let me give you 10 scriptures why you shouldn't be sad right now. And they're like, I didn't need that right now. Right now, I just needed a hug. Right? Again, there's so much power in being able to read the moment and pick up on what moment is this? Is this a moment where you need tough love? Or is this a moment where you need compassion? Do you just need a hug? Do you need me to just sit here silently? Do you just need to be left alone? I remember one time I spilt, this is over 20 years ago, but one time I spilt a glass of water on my laptop, and I was having all this trouble with it, and I was kind of stressed out about it. And so I had a friend who at first he was like, hey, what if you, and he could tell I was stressed, and he just left. And I was like, why'd you leave? And he's like, you clearly just needed to have, he's like, I didn't want to accidentally insert myself into your frustrating moment. And so I was like, yeah, that's pretty smart. I didn't get frustrated at him, but it's partly, he didn't even want to risk it. He's like, this is between you and your laptop. Because the funny thing is I spilt water on it, and while I was trying to clean it up, I think I spilt more water on it. And so I was like, this is just going terrible. Like a year ago, I had one of the most mishap, I had so many mishaps in 1 week. I had such a bad week where one day I was in a hurry. I'm opening the garage door and I need to back out in my vehicle. And I did things out of order for some reason. And I was like, oh, I turned on the car before the door was open. So I opened the door and I was like, I need to back out quick so I don't fill up the garage with fumes. So I backed out before the door was all the way up. So I crashed my car into my house. But, I crashed into the garage door and it shattered the back window and it broke the garage door. And I was just like, this is not ideal, right? This is a huge bummer. And then less than a week later, I was driving and I was backing out of a driveway on ice, and I couldn't get the car to move, and I didn't know there was a big boulder under the snow, and I just scraped the whole side of my other vehicle. So I crashed both cars in 1 week, and I also crashed one of them into my house. And I was like, I'm just never driving again. Like, I've never crashed ever. And in 1 week, I did it twice into things that weren't even moving. I've never crashed into another car. I've only crashed into things that, anyway, can we edit this out? I'm just kidding. We'll move on. And so anyway, my point is, when someone's having a bad moment, sometimes it's like, I'm just going to stay quiet instead of saying, well, why'd you do that? That's not necessarily what someone wants to hear in that moment. Like I said, if somebody's grieving, it's not necessarily the time to say, stop grieving. If somebody, again, what would help right now? It's not just what do they need to know. One example I use is 2 + 2 = 4. Imagine that you're grieving and someone says 2 + 2 = 4. You're like, what? Well, it's true. So my point is, just because something's true doesn't mean it's what they need to hear right now. And so many times people say, well, if what I'm saying to you is true, you just need to hear this right now. No, that's true, but there's a million true things. Which one do I need right now? Because God is incredibly gentle. He's incredibly kind. Sometimes he'll give me tough love. Sometimes he'll be like, Daniel, you're wrong, or get over yourself. And sometimes he'll be very kind and patient. He can read what I need. And so he speaks to me the way I need it. That's the same way we should treat other people. Just because something's true, just because you say, well, who cares if your dog died? It's just an animal. That might not be what they need to hear right now. Yes, it's true. It's not what they need to hear. There's also a time to joke around. I love to joke around with friends. There's also a time to turn it off, right? And you have to discern. I've even been in meetings where it's like one moment people are joking around, and then you notice, oh, the leader of this meeting is ready to get to work, and you just immediately switch gears. Oh, no more joking around. It's like, let's get to business right now. And then maybe a couple hours later, oh, now it's a little break. We just joke around, chat about something else, and then we go back to work. But you have to know when to turn it on, when to turn it off. Again, people close doors for themselves. They lose opportunities if people say this person never takes anything seriously because they're always joking around, right? It's like, no, joking around is fantastic if you know when to turn it off. It's important to know when to say something, when to be quiet, when to give somebody feedback, when to just let it slide, right? Let's say somebody, they step out of the boat, right? They share their testimony in front of a group of people and they've never done it before, and they get down and you said 10 times. They didn't need that right then. They just needed encouragement, right? It's like if your baby's learning how to walk and they take one step and they fall over. You don't say, you know what you did wrong there, right? You need to swing your arms more. You need to move your right leg a little faster. No, you just cheer them on. So again, you need to know, when do I encourage, when do I correct, when do I give constructive feedback, the whole deal. The world is becoming more and more digital. And because of that, I've just seen this, social skills are becoming weaker in general. I'm not saying for everybody, but for a lot of people, social skills are getting worse. There's more and more people who are socially awkward. I met one guy who said, he was probably in his 20s, and he said he had no friends who weren't online, that he had no in-person friends his entire life, that he just spent all his time playing games and being online, and that his only friends were online, and it showed. He just did not know how to interact with people in person, and we're going to be seeing more and more of that. And so it's important to go out of our way to learn these things. It's very easy to stay isolated or just to interact with people when you're buying from them, selling, and then you just do social media and stuff. But social skills are important. There's more and more adults who don't know how to handle their emotions. Just giant babies in adult bodies walking around just throwing fits, demanding what they want and stuff. So I want to go over a few tips on how to get better at this. So I've been kind of presenting the situation. One of the ways to get better at this is just to ask God, right? If you want to get better at discerning moments, that's one of the aspects of wisdom. And so you can just ask God for it, right? James 1 verse 5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him, right? So just ask God for help. Even Solomon, when he was a young man and asked for wisdom, in 1 Kings 3 verse 9, 1 Kings 3:9, he says, when he's asking God, he says, therefore give to your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil. For who is able to judge this great people of yours? Every relationship you have, the different people, different situations, God knows those people. He loves them. He created them. He knows their heart. We're made in God's image. One way of getting to better at discernment is to get to know God more, because the more you get to know God, the more you understand people, because we're made in his image. Now, humans are fallen, and so there's things that don't reflect God perfectly, but at our core, we're made in God's image. So one way to get better at understanding people is to understand God more. So getting to know him helps. Another tip for getting better at discernment in moments is to care. That's why in the beginning I spent time kind of showing the importance of this, is because if we don't even care, then we won't think about it, we won't value it, we won't ever get better at it. Right? Mark 12, verse 31, Jesus says a second, when he's talking about the two greatest commandments, he says, a second like it is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And I won't go on. But again, loving your neighbor as yourself. So do you think about yourself, right? Do you ever think about what you like to eat, or what you enjoy, what kind of clothes you like to wear, what kind of temperature you like? Yeah, obviously you think about yourself. So to love other people the way you love yourself means that you need to think about them, right? Even the word being considerate means you're considering other people. So we have to think about other people. And so if we don't care, we won't think about them. But if we think about them, we'll say, what would bless them right now? What mood are they in right now? Is this what they need, or is that what they need? And so if the more we care, the better we get at this. If people are self-centered, they won't notice when they're being rude to others or being jerks to others, things like that. It's kind of like, and one of the quickest ways for someone to lose my respect is if they're rude to workers somewhere, right? If you're at a restaurant and someone's rude to the server, I immediately am like, I can't be in this relationship anymore, in this friendship, whatever it is. It's like, I can't believe you treat them like that, right? Because it's like, if I were in that job, how would I want to be treated? And so, right, just natural empathy. So, sometimes, especially in modern culture, sometimes people even celebrate not caring, right? Because there's, it's people are like, I don't care what anybody thinks, and I just do whatever I want, and people like take pride in that. It's wild. There's a good version of that where you're not giving into peer pressure, you're not self-conscious, but there's a very self-centered carnal version of that also. So if we care about other people, it'll be easier to notice what they're thinking and what they're feeling, right? We walk into a room and we might notice, oh, everybody's sad. I should pay attention. Why is everybody sad? Or you walk into a room, realize, oh, here's the mood, there's the mood. You notice body language, tone of voice, energy levels, all that kind of stuff. The third one I'll end, and then we'll get to some Q&A, is appreciating nuance. So one of the ways to get better at discernment is to start to notice more types of variety, right? It's about perceiving things. If you don't know something exists, you won't notice it, right? So imagine that you only think there's 3 emotions. You say you're either happy or you're sad or you're angry. That's it. If you don't see any nuance beyond that, you will miss out on life, right? So if someone's tired, you're like, tired. Oh, you look sad. Well, no, you're wrong. They're not tired. It's lower energy. They're right. It's more nuanced than that. If somebody's embarrassed, you're like, well, embarrassed. Oh, you must be angry. So if you only think there's 3 emotions, you'll never pick up on more subtle things, right? Same with colors. If you think there's only like 5 colors, then you'll go around and be like, everything's either brown or blue or red or what. But then somebody who understands colors is like, well, that's not just red, that's salmon, right? That's tomato red, right? That's whatever else. The more we know that's out there, the more we appreciate it, the more we can recognize it in others, right? So the more we recognize emotions in ourselves, the more we can recognize them in other people. And so we can discern it more effectively. So we might realize, oh, this person, they're going through some, they're crying not because they're sad, they're crying because they're being nostalgic right now. It's different. It's not the same thing. So sorry, I'm kind of out of time, so I could dive into this one a lot more, but I'll move on. Oh, the last one I'll mention real quick is paying attention. Like I said, being considerate. James 1:19 says, so then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Being swift to hear, slow to speak. I'd say this applies to discerning moments also, is focus more on paying attention to the people around you and then jump in, right? So when you jump into a new conversation, you see people, it's important to pay attention more than about like, what do I want to say? What do I need to do right now? Anyway, I hope that's helpful. Again, discerning moments, discerning things with people, the whole deal, it's very, very effective and important. I'll move on to some Q&A right now before we wrap up. So this next question, or this first question, I guess, is how do I know when I'm being asked to do something that goes against my values? Just look at the fruit, right? Does this cause me to do things that go against my values, or would the result be something against my values? And then again, like I said in past episodes, then it comes down to courage. Will I stick to my values even though I'm being asked to do something against them? Because I've had this happen in a wide variety of situations where someone might say, it's not a big deal, who cares? And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And I respect you, and whatever. I mean, I'm thinking of an example from like 11 years ago, where somebody just asked me to do something that was technically illegal, and I didn't feel comfortable doing it. And they said, people do it all the time, no one cares. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. It was awkward, but you have to do it anyway. Next question, what's the best way to bounce back from failure or disappointment? I would say it's humility. If you think that your success is your identity and your own strength, then your failure will feel like your identity and your own strength have failed. But if it's humility and you say, no, my successes were because of God's grace, then when you fail, you say, oh, I just stepped into the flesh. And so my identity is not being threatened right now. So it's a bigger topic, but humility really is the key. If we walk in pride, then when we fall, pride doesn't help us get back up. But if we walk in humility, when we fall, humility does help us get back up. So we'll get to more questions in future episodes also. Before we wrap up, I do want to encourage you again to go to gooddaygtn.com to get this free booklet. You can get digital or physical copy. And you can also go to our website. You can call our phone number and get more resources, or if you want to partner with us, or if you need prayer for anything. I encourage you to connect with us. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed today's episode. We'll see you next time, and have a very good day.